The Azerbaijan Grand Prix weekend got off to a tricky start for most drivers. They struggled for grip around the Baku City Circuit today on Friday for FP1 and FP2. Let's have a look at the 5 things that we learned though, guys. The 5 highlights from the sessions today. And we're going to start with Ollie Bearman. Of course, Bearman comes into this weekend a little nervous. He's just 2 penalty points away from getting a ban, and he doesn't lose any of those penalty points until the start of November. There's plenty of Grand Prix between now and then, but right here and now he looks really good. Of course, he did make a cameo appearance for Haas here 12 months ago, so he has experience of this track in an F1 setting already, and it was showing in truth, getting P5 today in FP2, although of course he was struggling with lockups, particularly heading into the castle section. Of course, this is a very tricky circuit, very low grip. It's quite green right now at the moment. It is a street circuit in the truest sense of the word. But let's talk about Mercedes next. P3 and P4 for their drivers in FP2. Very impressive. Only the Ferraris faster than George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli. George Russell, of course, missed his media duties yesterday on Thursday due to illness, and on the radio today he sounded very hoarse. He sounded like his throat was very much hurting him, but the rest of him seems okay because he managed to get P3 today in FP2. Kimi as well. Kimi very much does need a good weekend this time around, and if he continues this form, he will very much be able to do that. I have no doubts about that whatsoever. But let's talk about Red Bull. They look very average around here. It's quite worrying, to be honest with you. I mean, not too many mistakes from their 2 drivers. Max went wide in FP1, I do believe, but aside from that, not really too much going on for them, but just a lack of pace, really. And of course, this was a race last year where Max seriously struggled. He got P5, but it would have been P7 if it wasn't for his teammate Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz coming to blows right at the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix last year. So one of the few races last year where he looked really off the pace, did Max, and he got P6 and FP2 today. His teammate Yuki Tsunoda, meanwhile, all the way down in P14. But how many times have we sat here on Friday and said, oh, Red Bull look absolutely nowhere, and then they go into qualifying tomorrow and they go and win the race on Sunday? It does happen. It's happened quite a bit. I think it happened last time out in Italy as well. Of course, they did win the Grand Prix, but I don't think they were particularly amazing during free practice from memory. But let's talk about McLaren next. 4th thing we learned. They don't look that great, really. I mean, they were 1-2 in FP1. They were really good in FP1, but again, you know, lots of contact between the drivers and the wall, particularly Lando Norris. And of course, Lando Norris in FP2 really slammed into the wall. He brought the car home, but his session was over. P10 for him in FP2, but he still managed to set a faster time than what Oscar Piastri did, the winner from 12 months ago. He was all the way down in P12. Not great for McLaren. They're not looking too quick, really, to be honest, despite their pace in FP1. We'll have to see how they get on during qualifying, but you know, you'd think they'd do better, but it's not looking particularly great. Of course, that lap by Oscar Piastri as well, sat on the soft tyres. A lot of guys around him only set a time on the mediums, so that was a quite slow lap by Piastri. That was quite a slow lap by the championship leader at the moment. But who actually got top? Well, if you paid attention to when I was talking about Mercedes, you'll know who was on top. It was Ferrari. Ferrari on top. Unbelievable. Of course, Charles Leclerc, no stranger to a fast 1-lap run over here. I think he's got the last 4 pole positions in a row in Azerbaijan, which is absolutely insane, especially considering that he's never won the damn thing. He's never won a race round here, despite how quick he's been in qualifying. It was his teammate, though, Sir Lewis Hamilton, playing down his chances of getting a victory this year in 2025, but he got P1 and FP2. That means something. We'll have to see how it goes. Obviously, that doesn't mean that he's going to be particularly quick in qualifying, but Ferrari certainly in the mix at the moment. You would have to say that pole position is looking like a battle between Ferrari, McLaren, and perhaps Mercedes as well. But Mercedes, remember, even though P3 and 4, they're almost half a second slower than Hamilton over their runs during their runs in FP2. But yeah, those are the 5 things that we learned, guys. The 5 main talking points from FP1 and FP2 during Azerbaijan Grand Prix Friday practice. What were your main highlights and takeaways from today? Get them in the comments below as always, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and have a fantastic day wherever you're on the world today. See you very soon.